A new round of tariffs is expected to have a major impact on the auto industry. And starting today, nearly all imported auto parts will come with a 25% import tax. And that levy does not protect cars made in America. Not one of the 10 million cars to come out of U.S. plants last year was built without at least some imported parts. And while consumers may not see any price hikes right away, experts estimate the tariffs could ultimately add about $4,000 to the cost of the vehicle. CNN's Julia Vargas-Jones is joining us now live from the Port of Los Angeles. Julia, how soon could consumers start to feel these impacts?
Well, like you said, Jessica, for those full cars, if you're buying a new car, it might not be right away, but if you need a repair in any of the parts for your car in the next weeks, you might be able to notice a little jump on the prices already. But we're also hitting another milestone this week. You know, those tariffs that went into place on April 9th for all of the ships that were leaving China, all of those ships have already arrived here now. We're seeing the first wave of merchandise that's arriving from China that is subject to that 145% tariff. And that is already having an impact here in the Port of Los Angeles, the largest port in the United States. A lot of merchandise from China comes in through right here. We spoke with the executive director of the port, Jean Soroka, who said they're already seeing a 35% drop in arrivals for next week. So we are already seeing an impact. The importers are saying we're going to wait and see what happens with these tariffs first, and then we'll make decisions as to what to do. But in the meantime, what do you do if you have merchandise that's arriving? You already paid for it. Now you have to pay the tariff. Well, one way that business owners are going around this is looking at bonded warehouses. These are spaces that are completely legal in U.S. soil, and they're really close to ports like this one, where you can store your merchandise for up to 5 years and you don't have to pay taxes or tariffs on it until you take that merchandise out, presumably when you've already made a sale. We actually caught up with one of the business owners who runs one of these places. Take a listen to what she said.
This is the first big shipment, one of 2 containers, 40-foot containers that came in, product from China that we're offloading, and we're going to put it, that side of our warehouse is the bonded side, and so we can't go in that side. This part is called a tax-paid side, so all this product is subject to taxes and duties. So yeah, so right now they're just offloading that product. They're going to put it all on pallets, so it comes in on just in boxes on the floor of the container. They put it on pallets, take it back. They're going to stack those pallets as high as we can get them, and then we wait for our instructions.
And Jessica, those merchandise that you're looking at, that it's all sorts of things. It's all things from parts from guitars that are going to be assembled and made in America, to stationery, kitchen utensils, spatulas, strollers, all sorts of things now not going to be going to shelves, right? So that could cause all sorts of other troubles, as these business owners are kind of taking a gamble, right? They're saying, we hope that talks with China will go well, and therefore tariffs will go down by the time that we find buyers for our merchandise and have to pay that tax on it.
We shall see. Julia Vargas-Jones, thank you so much for that. Famed investor and CEO of Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, sharing his most direct thoughts on the trade war for the first time today. Speaking this morning at his company's shareholder meeting, the Oracle of Omaha called tariffs and trade wars a big mistake.
There's no question that trade can be an act of war, and I think it's led to bad things. Just the attitudes it's brought out in the United States. I mean, we should be looking to trade with the rest of the world, and we should do what we do best, and they should do what they do best.
Jack Buffington is the director of the supply chain program at the University of Denver. He joins us now with more. Jack, thanks so much for being here with us. First, I do want to get your thoughts on what Warren Buffett had to say today. We also learned that the 94-year-old will be stepping down as the head of Berkshire Hathaway at the end of the year. So just first to get your reaction about his comments and also this news that he will be retiring.
Thanks, Jessica. Well, obviously Warren Buffett is a legend, and I absolutely agree with his points on tariffs. I think they're destructive and they create market volatility. Now, one thing that I think was fantastic about Warren Buffett is his focus on value, within companies and economies. We also both agree that manufacturing is the segment that has the most value. So for every dollar of manufacturing activity, there's $2.70 returned back to that economy. So I think Warren Buffett and I would agree that we need to have a more robust manufacturing economy. Not sure if tariffs are the way to get there, though.
And listen, you're an expert in the supply chain. I think Americans got really familiar with all of that during COVID and how disruptions can cause major problems in the disruptions in the supply chain. Set the scene for us about what we're about to experience. We were just talking to our colleague Julia, who's there at the Port of Los Angeles. Set the scene for us. What is the supply chain about to look like? How's that going to affect people out there watching?
Yeah, so one thing that was mentioned at the ports is the decline in containers. So there's something in supply chains called there's something that's called blank sailing. So a blank sailing is when an ocean cargo ship makes an appointment for a voyage and then cancels that. 2 weeks ago, blank sailings were 34%. Last week, blank sailings were 42%. These are record level of blank sailings. They're even higher than the blank sailings were at the beginning of the COVID pandemic. So we're about to see major disruptions of retail. I think consumers should expect to see some supply outages. They should see some price increases. I think the areas that will probably be most affected with consumers is consumer electronics, furniture, and apparels.
And so people should expect that to happen soon, in the coming weeks?
So these retailers built up inventory in 2025 expecting that this was going to happen. Now, the problem, of course, with building up inventory is that costs money, and supply chains are long tail, so there's a limit on how much inventory you can build up. So I think there's some of the big retailers are going to try to manage that. I think the small retailers are going to struggle the most. So there's just going to be a lot of disruption, and we'll just have to see what's going to happen. But with these blank sailings, and blank sailings are a sign that manufacturers in Asia are not producing, so they're not loading containers, and containers aren't coming back to the United States.
President Trump has said that his tariffs are part of what he calls his plan to bring a new golden age to the American economy. And he's acknowledged that there's going to be short-term pain, and he says it will be worth it. This is what he told NBC's Meet the Press.
Are you comfortable with the country potentially dipping into a recession for a period of time if you are able to achieve your long-term goals?
Well, you say some people on Wall Street say, well, I can tell you something else. Some people on Wall Street say that we're going to have the greatest economy in history.
Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
Look, everything's okay.
At this point, do you think there is an increasing likelihood of a recession?
Well, if we look at what happened with the first Trump administration, when they put in place tariffs, they were limited and they were targeted, and supply chains found ways around it through transshipments and other ways of doing things. These tariffs are much more broad sweeping, and there's fewer loopholes to get around. So I think there is going to be supply chain disruption, of course. If there's a strategy to do more assembling and production in the United States, that's a good thing. These things don't happen overnight. So I think there is, a pretty significant risk of the economy, going into some sort of decline.
All right. On that note, Jack Buffington, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.